I rhyme for my life, I rhyme for my pay, I rhyme for my people out here doing it every day. I rhyme for the raw heads, I rhyme to the beat, I rhyme for the ears that been keeping it to the street. I rhyme for my life, I rhyme for my pay, I rhyme for the people out here doing it every day. I rhyme for the raw heads, I rhyme to the beat, I rhyme for the ears that been keeping it to the street. The underground overlord coming to town, oh my god, raw heads, you know my squad, real shit, no facade.
Hey everybody, I'm Randy Silvas.
And I'm Tony Mollick.
Welcome back to the streets.
Tonight we're going to introduce you to a race that is part of a 3-night series we're calling Legends of the Street. The Legends series is all about representing cars that were some of the finest examples of Detroit sheet metal and fiberglass ever produced.
And the theme for tonight's race is the 1950s.
Tonight is all about the days of poodle skirts and sock hops.
Jerry Lee Lewis and Elvis Presley, the Platters and Chuck Berry.
And the glory days of illegal street racing.
Tonight's race will be a contest to see who can get to 5 wins first.
Once a car does get to 5 wins, the rest of the cars will have till the end of the round to match that score. Or that car will be declared the winner.
So, let's introduce you to the pack.
The 57 Chevy Nomad called Injustice. The 55 Chevy Bel Air called Sundance. The Hudson Hornet called Pink Lady. The 1957 Chevy Bel Air called New Blue. The 1959 Stingray called Prince. And the 1958 Chevy called Clifford.
The 57 Bel Air called Ruby. The 57 Stingray called Yucca. The 57 Chevy called Spirit. The 1958 Plymouth Fury called Red Rum. The 1958 Chevy Impala called Pops. And the 1956 Chevy called Recall.
Man, that's a lot of Chevys. Don't anybody race Fords no more.
Round 1, race 1 is Injustice versus Sundance.
Number 3.
Sundance is off the line first. Here comes Injustice around on the big end.
And that gives Injustice our first win of the night.
Up next, Annette Kane in Pink Lady versus New Blue.
Either Annette jumped or I was sleeping, one of the two.
Yeah, it's quite a spread she put on you. Blue ain't the fastest, but I couldn't see that.
Well, let's look at that start in slow motion.
Yeah, she anticipated that light perfectly.
Yeah, that is what you would call a well-timed guess.
And that gives Pink Lady her first win of the night. Up next, Tony in his 59 Stingray he calls Prince versus Alexis in her new build called Clifford.
Rolling. Number 2. Number 3. Yeah.
Prince just barely gets out first.
And I managed to stay ahead of him until the finish line.
And that gives Prince his first win of the evening.
Rolling up to the starting line, a couple of veteran Slotrods, Ruby versus Yucca.
Ruby didn't have enough in her to keep up with that Corvette.
That's all right. Ruby's here for the data. We got to get her ready for the long track.
That'll give Yucca his first win of the evening.
Which brings us to the Spirit of 57 versus Red Rum.
Nice start. Spirit 57 grabbed asphalt first.
And put the spread on that Plymouth, giving the Spirit of 57 his first win of the night.
Up next, two brand new builds that should be pretty darn fast. Brian Kane in the 58 Impala called Pops versus Tony in his 56 Chevy called Recon.
You're going to want to keep an eye on Recon. Everybody knows when you put flames on the side of your car, it adds 15 horsepower.
Brian was napping.
And he tried closing the gap, but I managed to sneak across the finish line before he could catch me.
Oh yeah, you rid his front bumper before he even hit the gas. And that gives Recon the last win of the first round.
Which brings us to round two. And kicking off round two, Brian Kane will be turning around and racing again against Jake Rendos in Injustice.
Yeah, Big Daddy wasn't sleeping that time.
He came off that light right with Jake, and that's pretty hard to do.
And Pops takes Injustice by half a car.
Giving Pops his first win of the night. Man, we sure do have a lot of cars with human names.
That concept is second only to cars named after song titles.
Rolling up to the starting line now, Ruby versus Clifford.
Well, we left together.
Yeah, Clifford saw you move and took off running.
Yeah, I tried to catch back up to him, but I ran out of real estate.
And that puts Clifford on the board.
Pulling up to the start, we have Prince versus Red Rum.
They do look pretty good sitting next to one another, don't they?
And speaking of songs, that's two fat bottom girls sitting right there.
Prince knocks the tires off and comes out of the slot, losing power in the middle of the track.
And that puts Red Rum on the board.
Our next race is Yucca versus Sundance.
Yep.
That's a hell of a start, but Sundance ran out of top end again.
Yeah, I'm thinking one of those gears needs another tooth or two.
And that makes Yucca the first to two.
Our next race, the only car sporting fender skirts tonight, New Blue versus the Spirit of 57.
Camera and should be ready to go. It should be in slow motion. Yep.
New Blue made a better pass this time than last, but it wasn't quite enough to catch me.
And that's good enough for the Spirit to join Yucca with 2 wins.
Up next, we got Recon versus the Pink Lady.
Great. Friday.
I told you them flames make it go faster.
Look at the front end bounce on Recon.
And Pink Lady lifted the front wheels a little bit too.
Yeah, them tires are sticking hard tonight, buddy. Watch out, racers.
And that gives Recon his second win. Moving on to round 3, New Blue versus Clifford. Man, that 57 can't get out of its own way. What is wrong with that thing?
Yeah, I didn't fare any better driving it than you did. Time to take that one back to the lab.
And Clifford joins the 2 club.
Up next, we have Pops versus Recon.
Camera 3. Yep. Well, neither one of us had any trouble getting off the line.
It's starting to feel like your little flame theory might hold water.
Now, Randy, how am I supposed to hold water with flames?
Yeah, this should be a pretty fierce race. Ruby versus Red Rum.
GM versus Plymouth.
Ruby gets a jump and out by about half a car.
And Ruby increases that lead a little before crossing the finish line.
And that puts her on the board.
And speaking of fast, our next 2 competitors are Pink Lady versus Spirit of 57.
It looked like I got the jump on that Hudson, but I stuck the tires and out of the slot she came.
We have absolutely got to make that problem stop. I'm not seeing anyone else coming up out of the slot but us anymore. Up next, the 59 Stingray we call Prince versus the chopped 57 Nomad called Injustice.
Annette had said before. All right.
Okay, camera 1,
Yep.
2. Drivers.
Yep.
Now that's a drag race.
They were neck and neck at camera 2.
Both those cars hunkered down when the weight dropped back on those tires, and they took off side by side.
You know, Big Daddy said there was a hump at about the 60-foot mark, and I think he might be right. I can see it.
Yeah, you can definitely see daylight under the front wheels just for a second.
I think I got him.
There's only one way to find out.
And there's the money shot.
Prince for the win by a headlight bezel.
And that brings Prince up to 2 wins.
Up next, we have Sundance versus Yucca, the rematch.
Camera 3. Yep.
If I could just dial a little more top end into that car, I think I'll have a competitor.
And Yucca takes his 3rd win of the evening.
And we enter round 4 with Yucca and Recon trying to separate themselves from the pack.
Up next, Sundance will be running again against Injustice.
And the same old gremlins show up again. Sundance stuck the tires, came up out of the slot, and forfeited the race to Injustice.
And that gives Injustice his 2nd win of the night.
Up next, we have the Hudson Hornet called Pink Lady versus the Chevy Impala called Clifford.
Clifford steals the hit, and Pink Lady's body is sitting on the frame like it has one bad shock in the rear.
Coming across the finish line, you can see the passenger side of that Hudson nearly sitting on the deck.
I don't know if it hurt anything, but it sure didn't help.
And that gives Clifford his 3rd win of the night.
Pulling up to the start, we have Pops versus New Blue.
Yep.
And we did check that light to see if Big Daddy jumped, and he left right on the light. We were calling it 0.00. That Chevy just can't get out of its own way tonight. I'm not sure what the problem is.
Well, I can tell you that gives Pops his second win of the night.
Pulling up to the starting line, the Plymouth Fury called Red Rum versus Randy and his Spirit of 57.
Camera 1.
Ready?
Camera 2. Rolling. Camera 3 is rolling. Yep, yep.
Spirit gets the jump and makes Red Rum chase him the whole way across the finish line. And Spirit joins the 3 club.
Up next, 2 cars from the 724. Tony and his 56 Chevy called Recon
Versus Randy in the 57 Chevy called Ruby.
Alrighty, camera 1.
Ready?
Camera 2. Camera 3. Yep.
Recon takes off like a dart, and there's just no hope of catching him. And that makes Recon the first with 4 wins.
Up next, another car trying to get its 4th win, Yucca. And the car trying to stop him, Prince.
That's a little Stingray on Stingray action.
We're good. Yep.
Yucca takes the whole shot and Prince is left in hot pursuit.
Prince tried to close the gap, but just couldn't power around Yucca. So now 2 cars have 4 wins.
But it's still anybody's ball game. Anything can happen at any time to change things.
Rounding third and head for home, our races go into what could be the final round.
Kicking off round 5, Pink Lady squares off against Clifford in a rematch from round 4.
Clifford takes off and has a great A to B pass. And Pink Lady's still dragging the passenger side down the track. But that's not the only problem. Now she has a fireworks display going on underneath the front end as well.
That gives Clifford a much needed 4th win, and I think it's about time to take Pink Lady back to the lab and get her refitted. Next up, Randy in the Spirit of 57 versus Brian Big Daddy Kane and Pops. Watch out, buddy. If he guesses on that light, you might have to come around him on the big end.
Yep.
Well, he waited on the light this time, and we left together. But Pops has his best pass of the night.
Which allows Pops to tie Spirit with 3 wins.
Up next, we're seeing red. A whole lot of red. Prince from the 724 versus Red Rum from Team Motown.
Camera 3.
Drivers.
Yep.
It's not often I repeat myself, but that's a drag race.
Prince takes the lead at mid-track and takes the win. And that brings Prince up to 3 wins along with Pops and Spirit.
Another couple 724 cars racing one another. The Red Ruby Metallic 57 Chevy called Ruby versus the 2-tone color change green-eyed 55 called Sundance.
Drivers.
Yep.
Sundance finally makes a decent pass, and Ruby has to cross the finish line all by herself.
Leaving Sundance to finally get on the board. Better late than never. And leaving New Blue as the only winless car.
Speaking of which, New Blue is taking on one of the 2 fastest cars here. Randy, tell me something. Do you smell a number 5 coming for Yucca?
Camera 1.
Yep.
Camera 2. Camera 3 is running.
Drivers.
Yep. Yep.
I smelled it as it went by.
And that makes Yucca first to 5, and only one car that could possibly push this into a 6th round, Recon. And the car trying to stop him from doing so will be Injustice.
Injustice is a fast car, but I think this is a winnable race for Recon.
Well, I'd say I got a puncher's chance anyhow.
In a weird sort of way, this is for all the marbles, isn't it?
Camera 1.
Ready?
Camera 2. Camera 3. Yep.
You know, they always say golf is the most frustrating sport there is.
But it ain't got nothing on slot rods.
And that, as they say, is drag racing.
And that makes the 1957 Chevy Stingray called Yucca our first ever official legend of the street. And he's crowned king of the 1950s for 2025.
And here's the beautiful trophy for tonight's race, and it goes to Mark Rendos.
Next time on Back to the Streets, it will be night 2 of the Legends of the Street series. And we will be celebrating the 1960s.
Instead of poodle skirts and DAs, it'll be muscle cars and miniskirts.
So until next time, I'm Randy Silvas,
And I'm Tony Mollick.
and you've been watching Slot Rods.
The answer is no, you ain't got a chance. She's out of your league, just let the girl dance. No creeping allowed, yo, you just get a glance. Don't try to swim game, yo, just let the girl dance. The answer is no, you ain't got a chance. She's out of your league, just let the girl dance. You can watch a show blow from a distance, but give us some space, son, let the girl dance.
Now that's a drag race.